Hey, well, this is your podcast. We are back for February. My name is Ken McGuire, joined as always by the gentleman in the top left corner of the screen, Mr. Andy Murphy in Urban Gym. And today, joined from California by UFC Hall of Famer, Urijah Faber. How are things? You're very welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Back in the day, Andy came out and did the Train with Tam program. So, we got some bond through that. So let's get down to business and see what's up with you guys.
What do you remember much of that experience meeting Andy? I know it's kind of 4 years ago now, Andy, is it?
It's out 2017. It was when I went out to Sacramento, and what an awesome experience. I loved absolutely every minute of it. Came back with not only new skills, but in terms of fighting skills, but also life skills as well. You know, it was the old Ultimate Fitness and home of Team Alpha Male. When I was there, Uriah was just kind of starting to relocate to his new state-of-the-art gym, which is absolutely phenomenal. I just missed out on training in that facility that you're in now. But it was.
So that must have been 2016, or was it 17?
17. It was literally, I think it was like 2 weeks
Ah,
before you officially moved in.
Gotcha.
It was awesome. I think at the time Cody was bantamweight champ. When I was there, I was there on the Monday, and he had to fly out then to Germany to get stem cell treatment on his back. Then I think
oh, that's right. Yeah.
It was around that time. Hey, what a team of savages, at the time, as well as all the 135, 145 pound absolute killers on the mat with you. There's yourself, there was obviously Chad was there, Cody was there, Elkins, Guida, who's fighting this weekend.
Cynthia.
It was phenomenal.
Awesome, man. Well, it was, it's fun to have these guys come from all over the world. I mean, we made some great relationships. Ireland, Scotland, Japan, China, Russia, Azerbaijan, Chechnya, all over the world, man. A lot from the UK, and we love having new blood in the room and new characters, and definitely enjoyed having Andy out.
You're right. Going back to the beginning. So all of these guys are coming to you now. You had to start from somewhere. So your first fight was what, 2003, first pro fight, give or take?
2003, yes, sir.
So at that stage, MMA as we know it was illegal in California. You're fighting in casinos. You're fighting in car parks. We've spoken before about like the early days of Irish MMA being a little bit like the Wild West. What was it like for you making your transition into mixed martial arts at that stage?
I mean, it was definitely the Wild West. It was illegal in California. The UFC had maybe 2 events a year. The lightest weight class was 170 pounds. I was able to fight on Indian casinos in California. We screwed the Indians over so bad in America that they are rewarding them to this day. So they have their own sovereign land and governments and rights to do casinos or fishing or like different things. Basically, us apologizing over hundreds of years. But so sovereign land in Indian reservations. All my first fights were on Indian reservations where they could do whatever the hell they wanted, and it was the Wild West. I mean, my first fights, I was wearing shoes. You could knee guys in the head. The weight class, the lightest weight class I could fight was at 155, and there was toothless people and beer and I mean the most off the wall characters you could think of were in the mix at that point. Mm-hmm. Everybody's cousin or a buddy was their manager, and the ring girls they hadn't earned their keep for the promoters. I mean, it was just a bad biz. But I enjoyed it. I was fresh out of college and was just following my passion. It sounded like a lot of fun to me. My parents weren't too stoked about it. My mom wasn't too stoked about it. My dad thought it was cool, but yeah, just right out college and decided to roll the dice in a career that had no bright future. But sometimes you got to think outside the box.
And that's going straight in. That's going straight in on the pro side. I mean, when we look at it from an Irish side, it's kind of like, work your way up, get your experience from an amateur level. Don't worry about results. Don't worry about anything else. Obviously, you're coming out of college with like a super wrestling background. Anything daunting about making the move into pro MMA at that stage?
No, because of my mindset. I feel like a lot of the same fighters, the top fighters, have this mindset. I just, in my heart and my mind, just believe no one would be able to beat me up. Nobody, not a big guy, not a small guy, especially not someone my own size. And I had that inner belief. So I remember I wanted to fight the guy that was the champ right off the bat, a guy named Charlie Valencia, who I later fought, and he's become a good friend of mine. He fought in the UFC and the WEC back in the day. Really good guy, good wrestler, good boxer. But and they're like, whoa, hold on, And there's Joe Daddy Stevenson. He was the champ at the time in the Gladiator Challenge, King of the Cage realm. I was like, let me fight that guy. But that was my mindset. So, and there was no professional, there was no amateur in California. It was illegal. So you wanted to fight or not wanted to fight, whether they're going to pay you, it's pretty much, it was $200 to show up, $200 to win. And I got a portion of my ticket sales. So I took the fight in a month's notice. I sold like 20 tickets, made an extra like $80 and showed up, made $200 to show up, won the fight, made another $200. And I had $80 from ticket sales. And it took me a minute and a half. I fought this big Mexican guy with pride tattooed on his stomach. And at the time I had my emergency teaching credential. I just graduated college and I was going to start substitute teaching. And I took this fight before I started substitute teaching, and I was going to get like $12-14 an hour. And I got $480 in a minute and a half. And I was like, whoa, that was a lot of money. You know what I mean?
This is my industry. This is where the future is.
Yeah, exactly.
I watched your fight against Ricky Simon. I watched it when it was live, and then rewatched it in the last week or so. And you had quipped something about Ricky being a good fighter or a hell of a fighter, or that he will come good in the future, but it takes time. Straight off the bat, for you seem to be quite good. Is that just down to the mindset, or was there a point for you early days of fighting where you're like, no, I am really good, and this is what I'm going to do?
It was pretty from the beginning. I mean, all my favorite sports growing up were boxing, football. I loved watching hockey. All my favorite movies were martial arts movies or gladiator movies or whatever. I was a contact guy, and so obviously, going into a scenario where you're fighting other people, you have to have, if you're really going in there for the right reasons, you think you're going to be the baddest guy on the planet. That's what I thought. And so I was really good on that side of things. Like, I will find a way to win at the very beginning, but I wasn't very good. So I've always talked about, for my fighters especially, you got to keep that mindset. And it's like this theory. Here's my theory. I'm the best dude on the planet. Then you do the test. I go into the room and I'm like the fifth guy in the room. Okay. New theory. I could be the best guy on the planet, but I need to get good at this. I need to get good at that, get at this, get at that. Come up with a new plan, right? A new test. And then you go in a circle. So it's like theory, plan, test, new theory, boom, 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 until you get to where you're the guy. And so I was pretty aware from the get-go where I was strong and where I was weak. But the thing that I was really strong at was I had some natural instincts when it came to fighting, because I'd watched so much of it and I believed in myself. I had amazing conditioning and mindset because of my wrestling career. I started late in wrestling. No, I wasn't like a guy like TJ or Cody or Chad or even Benavidez or Lance Palmer that started wrestling when they were little kids at like 4. I didn't start wrestling until I was, 13. And so I had to get my ass kicked and then come back from that and adjust and do more to get to where I was one of the top guys in the nation, Division I. So for me, I was going to find a way to win, but I was pretty terrible at some parts of the game, but I was really good at other parts of the game. And so I slowly was able to make a game plan as I acquired the skill set, but the game plan was pretty simple at the beginning. It was like, hit the guy, don't get hit, take him down, beat the shit out of him, don't get submitted. That was it.
What kept you going early days? Was it the winning? Was it challenging yourself? Was it that test and plan and test and theory and repeat everything, just bettering yourself and go, okay, I fought, I've won, I'll go again. I fought, I've won, I'll go again. I fought, I've lost, I'll figure it out. Now I haven't figured it out, I'll go again. What was the driver? What kept you moving?
The driver changes over time, and guys that have long careers will understand that, especially as new things get introduced to their life, like kids or injuries, or maybe you get really beat up one time and you realize you're human or whatever the deal is. But for me, it started out as an internal thing that wanted me to prove that I was the baddest dude on the planet. I don't know what that is. I remember before I knew how to do anything, as I was a kid in 3rd, 4th grade, shadow boxing in the mirror, not knowing what I was doing and wondering if I could beat up everyone in my school. I think in the 4th or 5th grade. And I did kindergarten twice. So I remember taking into consideration the fact that I was the same age as the 6th graders. And I thought, I had my class and I'm like, I don't know about Chris. I just saw Chris, a kid I went to elementary school with, on Instagram today. I don't know if I could beat Chris. He'd already hit puberty and all sorts of stuff. I remember thinking all that. So there's always this internal question. So I think that was the motivator. Then, the challenge of it, as you get more involved, the stakes get higher and it becomes the way you're making a living. It becomes part of your identity. It becomes a quest to get better. And later in the career, like the reward gets there. You can't not think about, like, and I come out of retirement at 40, I'm going to get a guaranteed purse that's 8 to 10 times larger than I was when I was the world champ. That plays into it. And it's like, man, why do I took a long time to get really good at something. Why not capitalize on it now? And it's still fun and it's still a challenge and it's a little life hack, that kind of thing. So the motivation always changes, but internally, if I didn't believe that I could beat up anybody, I wouldn't do it. And I do. And that's why my last fight was against Peter Young, the current world champ. I'm like, that excites me, that excites me to get a chance to be next in line at 40 for the belt.
You did have the belts. You had the belts across Gladiator Challenge, King of the Cage, WEC featherweight title. What did getting to that level mean to you at that stage?
Man, it was like, it was the Wild West. So like I said, I had to literally, I was looking for unity. So here's to put things in perspective on not to age myself, but in college, I didn't have a computer. I would use the community computers that the college offers. You stand in a line and you bring your little floppy disk and everything else. I had a sponsor that gave me their old computer, and I had like my first time where I had like access to the internet at all times. Like the internet was up to speed, 2004, 2003. So I just put in there world rankings and found a website that who knows who ran it, whatever, and it had their opinion of who the world rankings were. So the world rankings had Gilbert Melendez, it had Pequeno Nogueira, it had Norafimi Kid Yamamoto, and it was all guys that were fighting in Japan. And I had no way of getting in Japan. You know, we barely were getting cell phones around that time. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to be in the local scene here, but I'm like, I want to fight those motherfuckers. They think they're the best guys in the world, and I'm watching the YouTube channel, this and that. So my initial thing was, I'm trying to unify belts. I got the Gladiator Challenge, then I got the King of the Cage. Then I went and fought TKO in Canada, where Ivan Menjivar and Mark Hominick were the stars over there. And then I fought at the Cow Palace, and then I signed with the WEC, and I was trying to collect all the belts since there was no opportunity for little guys, and that was my motivation. Like, there was no way to be the best in the world. It was I got on the internet for the first time and typed up rankings, and somebody's ranking list came in there. I don't even know what website it was now, and I'm like, why am I not the first guy in the world? So then you look at some of my old fights in WEC. I was calling out Kid Yamamoto because they had him ranked above me in the world. Somebody did. Who knows who it was? I don't know. And so my motivation was be the top guy in the world. That was it.
Andy?
Yeah, I go back to WEC, and that's how I got into MMA, if I'm honest. Because when I was in college, it was like, say, 2007. I was watching a lot of WEC, and obviously Urijah was just beat Cruz in 2007. You had obviously 2 fights there with Mike Brown. You know, people be familiar with him now in terms of fan base, because obviously Mike's and Dustin Poirier's coach. You know, and a lot of Irish people have seen Mike Brown, but what a killer back in the day, and the 2 fights you had with him, like barn burners as well. But I always remember watching the WEC, because the UFC at the time only had, I think lightweight was the smallest weight class back then. And I saw all the WEC fights, and that was what was drawing my attention to the sport, because the speed, the athleticism, the fights were just intense, like, you know. And for me, I always remember watching Urijah, and he was the first guy that I remember watching, and just like, tough as hell, but he taught me that tough guys don't all wear frowns, you know, and you can walk into a cage smiling, waving hi mom, and like be the baddest guy on the planet, let's just say, you know. And that was what drew me to the sport. And I got involved in MMA, I think it was 2009 was my first MMA class. I went and got involved in it, you know, turning pro and having a fight name was like the Carlo Kid. Where did I get the Carlo Kid from? I'm from Carlo, but it originated from obviously Urijah, because he was the guy that I was obviously such a big fan of and inspired me, you know, in my own career. But the WEC days were pretty amazing. How did it feel, Urijah, to obviously you were a WEC champ going into the UFC? Then obviously you were hunting the UFC gold, and you got to fight Dominic Cruz for the second time, you know, and you'd already beaten him. How did it feel? Obviously, you get into UFC, you want that elusive UFC belt. Is that something that, you know, you're still hunting for? You said that you fought Peter Yan, and that was still a very competitive fight. Is that something that you're still hunting now, even at the young age of 40?
40. I'm 41 now. I'll be 42 in May. So,
Wow.
you know, the thing is this: if I'm going to fight, I always want to prepare myself, have my skill set ready to be able to jump in and fight for a world title. And I believe I can. I fought Jan. I fought most of the fights I've fought have been top contenders or guys that are on 8 fight win streaks or 12 fight win streak or, you know, this and that. Yeah. Every time I watch back one of my old fights, it's like, so-and-so's on an 8 fight win streak, then a 12 fight win streak. And then this, he's, you know, won 14 of his last 15. And then they give him an opportunity to steal my thunder. And that's what I was saying about Ricky Simone. Like, congratulations, man. Don't forget what's really going to happen, though. You know,
because
you're going to fight me, and there's a reason why it's exciting to fight me, because I'm going to mess you up. So that's really kind of like the thought process. No matter what, if I'm going to compete, I'm going to get myself in world championship caliber conditioning, and I'm continuing with my skill set, because I teach and I drill, and I'm working with some of these guys. I would like to maybe do a fight for my 42nd birthday, because I like doing stuff like that to celebrate. Like my mom ran a half marathon. She doesn't run at all. She's, not into working out. She ran a half marathon on her 61st birthday just to do it. People go climb Mount Everest and this and that. I'm like, why not get paid to do something I'm really, really good at, that I love, and possibly hunt that elusive UFC title. And I fought that fight with Dominic Cruz, and I think I was 31, almost 32 when they introduced the WC and combined with the UFC. But it was always the same company. It was it was the same guys behind the scenes. It was Burt Watson walking you out. It was the same company. It was just run by the UFC, and they're cornering the market. The WC had the lightweights, and they had 2 TV deals and 2 drink deals and 2 sponsor packages and everything else. So in my mind, it wasn't like this and that. It was always the same thing. And I was always like, guys, why don't we just combine them? Like, oh, it's coming. And the first fight where they kind of took off the WC branding was against Jose Aldo. And, I hunted that title, and I'm proud of having the title. I'm proud of hunting the title. I'm proud of, being a top fighter for my entire career. But I'm always in a championship mindset. Like I go today in practice, there's Cody Garbrandt, there's Song Yadong, both 2 of the top fighters in my weight class in the world, on the planet. And the list goes on. Josh Emmett, number 7 in the world. And we've got Jan, who's the female fighter ranked number 4 in the world. I mean, I see where I'm at with everyone. So I know what it takes and where I'm at, and I can fight for a world championship again. I'd fight Jan again. That was fun for me. I had a great friggin' time with that.
Have you got an eye on what's going to happen between Jan and Aljo?
I talked to Aljo. Aljo's a smart fighter. I'm a smart fighter. Aljo's our conversation between me and Aljamain Sterling was like, bro, you showed the way to beat Jan. And obviously I did not beat him. I got caught in the second round, but my first round, I didn't get touched at all. And I was doing well in the second round also. I got a little lax. He's a dangerous guy. I'm also 40 years old. So maybe the chin, although it's just as large, may not be as strong as it was back in the day. Who knows? But, I got caught and kept fighting, etc. Aljamain's a strong wrestler. He's been ever improving with his stand-up game. If he can be intelligent about the fight, he could walk away with it. Jan is also a guy that is a champion, and he's not a champion, get distracted by the new friend and the new this and the new girl and blah, blah, blah. He's got his family. He's got his tight-knit group of friends. He's spending his time right now with the Russian wrestling team. That says a lot about him. So I'm leaning towards the champion on that, but I think if Aljamain is really smart and plays this thing well, he could walk away with it. But the fact that Jan is dedicating so much time to his wrestling game right now, and he's a guy that can do a backflip and a somersault, and he's really brave and can walk guys down, I'm going to give him a slight edge.
Can we detour from fighter Urijah to coach Urijah / businessman Urijah? Knowing where Team Alpha Male is now, and you've just listed off a who's who of various divisions and former champions that are training with you, that had to come from somewhere. What was the seed for you that kicked off Alpha Male?
Well, I come from a wrestling background, and I talk to my guys all the time about this, because like we'll have 45 guys in the room, and some of them are going lollygagging around, and some of them are breaking a sweat right off the bat because of their intensity level and focus. And in a wrestling room in college, for example, there's 11 spots, and there's maybe 35, 40 guys on the team, and sometimes 3 or 4 in your own weight class. And you guys are comrades, and you guys are training partners. You may get in a fist fight in practice, but you always hug it out. And you guys are going after the same prize, and there's a pecking order that's not chosen by anybody but yourselves. So At this point, the fight game has to be like that. And I see it time and time again where it's like the one fighter and they have their little coaches and they just do their own thing. I don't think that's the best way for training in our sport. I think the best way is get a bunch of badasses out there and let the cream rise to the top, and you sink or swim. So you come in and you come in and do a day of practice, and you don't have the technique to keep up, and you're holding guys back, or you don't have the conditioning come back, or your athleticism isn't up to par, or something. It's not like we choose that. It's like-minded people proving that they can be there, and we lead from the top. I'm friendly and make sure that people feel welcome there, but it's an intense time in the room, and that's important. We live a very tough life as fighters, and why do it alone? Why do it if it's not fun? Why do it if you can't be part of a community? And so that's kind of the motivation, and it comes from that wrestling background.
Going on to the business side of things then as well, was there a point where you kind of mentioned coming out of retirement, if somebody's going to hand you a guaranteed purse, it would be silly to kind of, not look at it and not consider it seriously. From a business point of view for you, was there a moment where you were, or did it ever happen where you were more strategic about your fights or your choices of fighting with a business sense in mind, going, okay, well, I can take this fight and I can prove something to myself, or I can keep testing myself, or I can take this fight and financially it might suit me a little better. Did that ever kind of come into play or cloud things? Or
Not really. I mean, I would like to say, so I guess the biggest thing was this. I was one of the founders of the lighter weight class. And there was a time where you have a reputation where nobody wants to fight you until they get jealous. And this is Dana described this to me in 2006. He's like, I'm like, man, it's hard to get guys to fight you. He said, wait, just wait. People are going to get jealous. Everybody's going to want to fight you. And then I was always the guy that had, sorry, my phone's just blowing up. I'm seeing all these text messages and notifications. I'm like, dude. But I was always the guy that had something to lose against everyone that had nothing to lose my entire career. And so I was the financial thing for people. Can they get a fight with Urijah? And my thing was, I'll fight anybody because I believe I'm going to beat everybody. And that's part of why the UFC loved me, and I've got a good relationship with them is I didn't pick and choose fights. I would say one case in particular, they were talking about me fighting somebody, and I decided to go up and fight at 145 against Frankie Edgar just because I was having trouble getting excited about fights, and Frankie's an iconic guy, and it was going to be the first fight in the Philippines. And so instead of fighting somebody that was like, another guy that was going to try to make their name off me, I was like, you know what, let me go have an iconic fight with Frankie over in the Philippines. And I went up a weight class to do that. Had an okay fight. But other than that, it's been, bring them on.
What brought about the call to retire the first time?
I didn't finish the rest of that because you asked about the business side of things. The business side of things for me has been this. I was making nothing when I started fighting for a long time. I was bussing tables. I was coaching at UC Davis, making $7,000 a year. I started a little business called TLC, Top Line Coaching, where I was coaching kids in addition to it. I was working wrestling camps in the summer, and I was fighting, making 400, 500, selling tickets, making $1,000. And I started a business coaching kids, TLC. Then I started a business, Alpha Male Clothing, selling T-shirts. Then I was selling tickets right up until right where I go out and fight. I was forced into being business-minded by chasing a passion that had no financial stability or real money involved. So I was hustling to be able to fight full time. And that's the difference with today. I mean, I could tell you some hilarious stories of how I made ends meet to be able to fight for a pipe dream to be the best in the world when nobody cared. This is before the Ultimate Fighter, and it wasn't on ESPN. It was on, Sure Dog Radio and 3 pay-per-views a year. That was it. So for me, I was a businessman out of necessity to follow my passion. And so then the next question you asked again,
it was in relation to retirement. What brought you to retire the first time?
I was having trouble getting excitement. I was chasing the title. I was 37 at the time, and I had lost for the first time 2 fights in a row. One was for a world championship against Dominic Cruz in the 3rd fight. The second one was against Frankie or Paulie or Jimmy Rivera in a lackluster fight. He won because of a few more ankle kicks, basically, and I was already like having trouble getting the excitement and hair stand up on my back, and lost 2 fights in a row. I had kind of exhausted title fights. It felt like I'd had 4 attempts at the UFC belt from 31 years old on. And so I was like, you know what? They're having an event in my hometown. I never have done this for the money, although money is a great thing, but I understand business and how to make a living. It was kind of a challenge to say, okay, I can get rid of fighting and be fine. And I've actually increased my wealth more and my time off than I had my entire career, which was a good feeling and a good feeling to go back knowing that you've created some security for yourself. So for me, retiring was, you know what? It just felt like the right time. I got really excited for it. The UFC sent me off in a great way. I had a fight in my hometown in the new arena that was literally saved our town. We almost lost our professional basketball team, which would have left us as a ghost town. We had this new arena built with all these major investors that came in, and it was like kind of the heartthrob of Sacramento. I got to be the first fight in it, my last fight against the guy that I had a lot of respect for and thought would be an amazing fight. And One Punch Pickett, known him for years. We're peers as far as age goes and whatnot. And I got real excited for that one. And that was the first time I felt excitement. I had jumped up to fight Frankie, and it was kind of lackluster. Fought Dominic Cruz. Not that I wouldn't train hard. It was just wasn't getting my emotions going. And so that was part of it for me.
He was in your wedding video, Andy, wasn't he? Was he?
Yeah, he was. He was in my wedding video. Yeah, he called me out, so he did. But it's gas. Obviously Brad Pickett's such a well-known fighter, our side of the world. I've obviously met him a good few times. He was on the wedding video. He was obviously in the same dressing room as me for the Bellator fight that I had. But I was really excited for that fight as well. Obviously, the Edgar fight was awesome, going 3 rounds with Frankie. Then getting to fight Brad Pickett, who again, like Brad beat my teammate Neil Seery on his UFC debut, and what was a 3-round barn burner as well. So stylistically, I just couldn't wait to watch Urijah. Obviously, with his skill set in wrestling and boxing and the way he mixes things up, I've always been a massive fan. Love the guillotines that he's always committed to, and the rear naked chokes, the way he sets these things up with his wrestling and conditioning, So I couldn't wait to watch that fight. And again, it was a great fight to go out on in terms of career Urijah. And I guess it brings me to another question now. At, like you said, 42, what is driving you now? A business owner, parent to 2 beautiful kids, happily married. You're running a world-class facility with phenomenal guys coming through. What more is there for Urijah Faber to conquer, and what is driving you as the athlete now? Not so much the business owner, but the athlete. What drives you? Is it? I always wonder as a fighter, because my career got rocked because of illness after I got back from Alpha Male. It's something I massively miss, that buzz of competition and the feeling that you get. It's something that money and success and things like that cannot buy. is that something you're craving while you're still in physical shape and you don't want to let go of that? Or is it the thoughts of a title run again?
It's not the ultimate title. Like people always ask about the title, and I know the real situation. I was the world champion of the best organization in the world, owned by the UFC, that didn't have my weight class. You know what I mean? In my 20s,
Yeah.
right? I didn't get into the UFC till I was nearly 32 years old. And come to find out, 90% of the guys were cheating. I didn't know that. I've not, you know, I never even had caffeine until I was 36 years old. And I start hearing this stuff, EPO, HGH, testosterone. And I'm like, I've got some natural gifts, thank goodness, and a mindset. But I have no qualms with the way my career was. For me, as a guy that's getting older, you only live once and you can only do this thing for a certain amount of time. And I don't want any regrets. And the fact, and I see, this is what I see happen. I see people's careers peter out, and I see their health peter out, and I see their consistency peter out. And for me, because of genetics, the way I've lived my life, my mindset, and the environment I've created for myself, I feel amazing. And sometimes it just sounds like fun. And I'm like, and then when I really came out of retirement, some people were getting on my nerves and I felt like fighting. I'm like, you know what? I feel like fucking somebody up, you know? and like, you know, and it sounds like it'd be fun. And my birthday's coming up. I'm going to be 40. That's a deal. I just had a kid. I'm like, you know what? I might just do something I love, you know? And it's nice to not have to do something. I know that I can create a life without the fighting. That's a good feeling to have. And I started looking at some guys that were trying to rehash their careers and, you know, get kicked out of this organization, then go fight this little organization, then lose there and win one there and this and that. And it's like kind of a sad trail. When I could step in, I retired when I was ranked number 6 in the world. I can step in and I feel like I can fight anyone in the world at any time. And I get the ability, I have the ability to say, hey, put me in, coach.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. And sometimes I feel like I just want to call that card, but I don't have to. So for me, it's just about living life to the fullest and doing what I want. And you guys talked about my motivation as a kid, and my motivation now is the same thing. I want to live my lifestyle. I want to do what I want to do on my schedule with the people I want. And that is what fighting has meant to me. It's been me calling the shots. I mean, I can dress like you know how many times I've been mistaken for homeless? Quite a few. Like this guy, I have my hair in a bun and like one pant leg up and like a little blood on my face walking after practice. And like, they're like, oh my gosh. And you see me getting a nice car. And they're like, what? The homeless guy is driving a Range Rover? What the fuck? So yeah, that's it. Flip flops.
Yeah.
No shirt. That's how I want to live my life. That's my motivation.
I've got 2 quick ones before we let you go. I'm conscious of the time. First off, how's fatherhood treating you?
Oh man, it's been amazing. You know, I studied in college. I was a human development major. It was like maybe 80% women in the major and 20% male. It's more geared towards being a parent and being an elementary school teacher and that kind of stuff. And so I've always wanted to be a parent and put all my time and energy into having kids, but I was so focused on my success and career, just nose to the grindstone. I look up and I'm, 40 years old without the family. So, fast forward, and my dad, I remember my dad's, he's like the happiest, funniest guy, like my biggest supporter. And he goes, man, I was 37. And, he goes, Uriah, do you ever have regrets that you never had kids? And I was thinking, I never had kids. I was just thinking, I just haven't had kids yet. And I said, Pop, in 9 months, I could have 8 kids if I want. If I play my cards incorrectly. I said, it only takes 9 months. He goes, I go, what do you mean I never had kids? I said, I could have kids in 9 months. And he's like, he started cracking up. He goes, I never thought about that. And I'm like, yeah, that's not a hard gig. So, I love being a dad. It's so much fun. And I wanted to hold off until I could be the way I parent. I need to be retired. I can't be focusing on something, being a world champion full time, because I'm like hands-on, fully involved. And that's how my parents were. They did it opposite though. They had kids broke and stayed broke because they were focused on their kids, which is great. Made for a great parenting. And, they figured it out as time went on, but it was always, we were first, which I appreciate. I did it backwards. I got my ducks in a row financially so that, I can spend all my time with the kids, just like my broke parents did. And it's been amazing for me.
Last one from me, and we'll let Andy wrap. If it's not Jan, or if it's not Aljamain Sterling, is there something that will get you out for a fight in May this year or any stage in 2021?
Yeah. I mean, all sorts of stuff would get me out. I know they've been talking about TJ Dillashaw. I don't think he would want that fight.
It would sell. It would sell.
I would, as long as the financial side of the line, that would be a fun fight. That'd be one where people would be interested. Yeah. That would be one. And I don't know, something around my birthday, something exciting, somebody that I like or don't like. I don't really care, but it's more about me in these scenarios when it comes to the way I think. I'm going to go out and do me.
Okay.
But that would be one where I could probably get some more cash for, and it'd be one that sparks the fire.
Yeah.
All right. Andy, any closing remarks?
Just we do this podcast, Urijah, aimed at inspiring people. We kind of, the whole idea of the gym is like we aspire to inspire, but I think something that I think a lot of men can maybe resonate, hopefully, from this podcast is that, we have a world-class athlete on who's like approaching his 42nd birthday, who has this appreciation for life, and like, you've got after what you want in life, and you're happy doing what you do. As a big fan, I just want to kind of ask, like, what advice would you give to maybe a young aspiring athlete in terms of, trying to make it in MMA or in whatever sport they pursue?
There's a guy, Napoleon Hill. Is it Napoleon? What's his name? I think it's Napoleon Hill. Anyways, two things that are great for common things in people that have a lot of success. And these I read in a book, but when you think about it, it's super, super on point. And it's PMA, positive mental attitude. And that, some people, and I feel like I have it genetically because my dad, like, you could kick him, forget to feed him, lock him out of the house, and he's all happy to see you. He's like a dog like that, right? So I've got a little bit of that genetically, but it's also a decision on how you approach, internalize, and react to things that happen in your life, or how you perceive things, etc. So positive mental attitude is huge. And then the second one is definiteness of purpose. Definiteness of purpose. What are you going for? What are you wanting? And I hear a lot of people say, I got burnt out, and that'll happen, especially when one person says it. It's like the 4-minute mile. No one could do the 4-minute mile until somebody hit the 4-minute mile, and then everybody beat the 4-minute mile. When you start hearing somebody say, oh yeah, well, what happened? Oh, you're doing pretty good. Man, I got burnt out. Oh yeah, maybe I'm burnt out too. Well, fuck, it's hard as shit. Yeah, everybody's gonna get burnt out. If you can separate burnt out from the things that you really want and say, I don't like doing all this crap, but I still want this thing, then you can do all the shit you don't want to do. And that's what people have trouble doing, is doing the stuff they do not want to do. They're great at doing things tough when they want to do them, but it's hard to do stuff when you don't want to do it. So that's one. The second thing is, and Conor McGregor is a good example of this. Michael Bisping is a good example of this, just to keep it on your side of the planet. I'm a good example of this. and people say this is like it's a bad thing. Being delusional is good when it's other people thinking you're delusional because you're thinking so big. Like, oh, Conor McGregor, he's broke on food stamps, and he thinks he's gonna have a yacht and a jet and this and that. Like, right? Michael Bisping, how many people counted that guy out? And he comes in and has a world championship run, and he's a DJ, and he's a movie star, and he's got a healthy family. How about me? I bought a car, and I was working at a wrestling camp in Tahoe in 2004. I bought a car for $350. It had a cassette tape you plug in that had a CD player, which I traded some kid for some of my gear that I got for coaching. And they gave me a CD, and I'm sitting there driving that car, bumping home, and I'm visualizing like, I'm going to be huge in this sport. There's no weight class in the UFC. There's no money involved. But I hear I'm driving my $350 car with this thing I traded my clothes for, listening to some song that's inspired me, and I'm visualizing all these great things that are going to happen when there's no real path. That's delusional, right? So being delusional, thinking so big that it scares you, that's one thing that I would encourage. And then the other thing I would say that people, and I thought about this at the beginning of quarantine, because I would start doing a lot of these talks. The other thing that's great is excuses. People think excuses are terrible. Conor, did you hear Conor's next one? He got me in the leg. You kicked my poor leg on my leg. I'm like, bro, Conor's my boy. I love Conor. But I'm like, he got knocked out by a heavy hitter. It wasn't the leg per se. I mean, maybe he played the thing it is, but that's a good excuse for him, because he can go fix that. He's not going to get kicked in the leg next time. And for him, he may believe that was the secret that was his downfall. If you can make excuses that are fixable, that's an amazing thing. If you have excuses that are not fixable, you're fucked. Well, I'm not good enough. Poirier is just better than I am, or whatever it is. Oh no, man! If I block the leg kick, or I get out of the way, or I kick his ankle, I get him next time. That's a great excuse. All these champions make excuses. I was notorious for making excuses. I used to piss Dominic Cruz off all the time. Like, bro, this fucking judging. 2011, I dropped you 3 times. You won because you're trying to take me down in the 5th round and avoid getting punched in the face, and you can't even hold me down, and you won that round. So you won the fight. I'm like, oh, judging. Fucking judges, man. Better judges. I would have won that fight. World champ right here, UFC. You know what I mean? So don't be afraid to make excuses, as long as they're fixable excuses. And the last thing is, this shit's hard. It's a hard path. And even if you make it to where you want to go, you're going to have to change your mindset and think bigger again, and do your reassessment. Where do I want to be? What do I have to do to get there? Is it working? No? Readjust. So those are all my little pieces that I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, this is a subject that we can go on and on again. I wrote a book in 2011. There might be some of this stuff in there, but I need to write a 40-year-old version.
I think the biggest thing I took from Alpha Male was that you're dead right. This game, this sport, this life is tough. I think a lot of people as fans look in on the outside and they see the shows and the thousands of people and the after parties and the weigh-ins and all of that. But what they don't see a lot of the time is the hours upon hours of hard work and endless graft. They see the UFC build up like in bed, and they see maybe 30 seconds of a training clip. But there's hours, like I said, of non-stop training. Like when I was at Alpha Male, pro practice was at 9:30, and then we had whether it was like Thai boxing at 1 or 1:30, or boxing with Joey. And then you're back in the evening for whether it be like kind of jiu-jitsu or BJJ with Chris Holdsworth. And that's 3 sessions in a day. That you're literally getting up, you're eating, you're training, you're going back, you're recovering, sleeping, resting, getting food again, going back to training. And this is all part of the camp. And I remember the biggest thing I took was that the guys who are in the UFC, the top guys in the sport, like yourself, Cody, Philly, Elkins, name dropping here, Greed and all them, they were on the mat every session that I was there. You know, and I was there for the 2 weeks, whatever, but I was like, and I just made sure I was on the mat every single session, no matter how broke up I was like, I'm only here for this length of time. I want to be there. But the thing that I noticed was those guys were there all the time. It's a job. And you have to be delusional. You know, we're getting hit in the face. You're training with the best guys in the world. These guys aren't, you know, for us in Ireland, we have pro teams, but there's also a lot of teams where, you know, maybe 3 or 4 top guys in the gym, and that's it. When I was at Alpha Male, there's 30 professionals on the mat for a pro practice. Like, you know, I think it's something that a lot of people don't see and they don't understand. And, you know, for you, you know, at 42 years of age nearly now, to be in a career that you've had for so long is pretty phenomenal. And to be quite frank, you have to be delusional to do what you do, you know, and to go at this path when there was no path. You literally made a path for yourself. So I think it's been an inspiring episode of this podcast to show a lot of men as well what is possible in this life if you go after what you're truly passionate about.
That's right. Absolutely.
I just want to say from me to you, Urijah, thank you so much for the hospitality you showed me when I was at Alpha Male. You know what? My first day of practice, I arrived at midnight the night before, and Dave Rowan brought me to training that Monday morning. And Cody Garbrandt walked over to me. I was on the mat putting on my shin pads. And Cody is the UFC champ at the time. And I'm pretty nervous, you know, inside I'm trying to look cool, but on the outside I'm like, oh, whatever. But Cody walks over direct to me. He goes, hey bro, where you from? And I'm like, I'm from Ireland. He goes, you from Connor's gym? And I was like, no, I'm from Team Ireland. It's a bit of a rival gym. He goes, it's great to have you here. And I was like, you have the UFC champ, the world champ coming over, and he's introduced himself to a guy who he doesn't know, who's flown over from halfway around the world. And that's just a champ mentality. And it's what I had from the moment I stepped in the door at Alpha Male. The Wednesday you came in and I was doing the warm-up and you came directly across to myself and introduced yourself to me. And I was like, this is mental. I've got these guys who are at the peak of their sport are coming over and making a guy from Ireland who's early days in his pro career and make him feel welcome. Like I said, you're a happy guy, you're a nice guy, but you're tough then on the mat, but that's what you go there for. So, like I said, just a massive thank you. And thanks for coming on this podcast this evening as well.
Awesome, guys. I love going over these things and talking to guys like you guys, because you're asking all the right questions and I'm getting myself and you guys are getting me pumped up, man. I mean, I'm gonna walk out here and show you the office right here. We got mental warfare, then right outside there's the cage. I'm gonna have to go out and see if there's any young bucks to throw around out there now. But hey, thanks again, man. I hope this does well for you guys, and we'll do it again soon.
For sure. You're right. Thank you so much.
You got it, brother. Talk soon.
Right. Take care. Good luck.
Send out your guys to train with Tam. We love the Irish cats. All right.
See you soon.
See ya.
And on that note, with Urijah Faber leaving the building to go back to training, that is it for this edition of your podcast. You can listen back to it in full: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or see urbangym.ie for all the podcasts and all the videos. We will do this again very soon.